What are the consequences of hacking or using an exploit? Oh boy. Now is this is really going to be open to interpretation, but let me read it first. What are the consequences of hacking or using an exploit? Hacking, cheating, and/or exploiting includes, but is not limited to, accessing or modifying game files in a way that is not expressly authorized by that game company. Any action outside of the intended game experience where a player is given an unfair advantage over any other player. Taking advantage of the game's economy in such a way that the effort to progress is disproportionate to the reward. Accounts found violating our terms of service or aiding in these activities will be subject to action from TGC. This may include, but is not limited to, removal of hacked items and being temporarily or permanently banned from the game. If you believe someone is cheating or aiding in the activity of cheating, or if you are unsure if something falls under this category, please feel free to contact us. You can also use the in-game report feature to report players. Please see How Can I Report Inappropriate Activity or Behavior for more information. Now, this is... they're talking about the consequences of hacking or using an exploit. Okay? Now, the hacking part of it would typically involve a third-party app, modifying game files. That's one thing. Exploits is where things get a little bit more interesting. What is an exploit? I'm not sure they define what an exploit is. As I understand, it's basically using something within a game to your advantage. An example from outside of Sky would be in Minecraft. Players use exploits all the time. It's almost a part of the game. It's accepted. Nobody complains about it. In the days of zero-tick farms in Minecraft, that's basically, excuse me, that's using an exploit. And you could probably do it on servers. And as far as I know, it was sort of regarded as a, yeah, this happens kind of thing. With Sky would probably look at that and say, nope, you're not having that, you're banned or temporarily suspended. So I'm trying to think of, that's just an example from Minecraft. Minecraft is notorious for this kind of thing. You can go on the internet and find certainly past and possibly present exploits. It's entirely possible I use exploits and don't even think about it within Minecraft because it's such an accepted part of the game. But I'm trying to think of something in Sky which would be regarded as an exploit. Well, the obvious one is that ability to get a ridiculous number of hearts every day with the collusion of certain activities with another player. That would be an exploit. In other words, the game doesn't stop you from doing it, but you're exploiting the game anyway. As I said, I believe you could get 20 hearts every day from that. Yeah, that's an exploit. And you can say, oh, the game allows me to do it. It's still an exploit. But this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Because what is chibi falling? Now, I've not played very much as a chibi, and I never could get the hang of chibi falling. And to be honest, I don't like it for reasons which I'll go into in a second. Is chibi falling an exploit? Well, yes. Obviously it is. Could it give you an unfair advantage? Well, yes, it could. Because it can help you get to candles so much more quickly. Is it arguably giving you an unfair advantage over another player? Well, if it's helping you get to places and do things faster than most players, then technically that would be an exploit. But chibi falling is such an accepted part of the game that I don't think that TGC would regard it as an exploit. See? Kind of fuzzy there, isn't it? What's another example of an exploit? Going out of bounds. Now, this is an interesting one. Going out of bounds in Sky has been practically regarded as part of the game, to go and see stuff that you would not necessarily otherwise see, getting to places that you would not otherwise be able to get to. Is it an exploit? Well, yes, certainly. You're making use of essentially a bug in the game to get somewhere that, technically speaking, you shouldn't. Does it do any harm? No, I don't think so, he says, squeaking a bit as he asks the question. Not sure. I have gone out of bounds or been taken somewhere through chibi falling, and it always causes concerns in my mind, because now I'm concerned that the game is going to crash. I have actually accidentally been dropped off in a situation where a friend took me somewhere through a chibi fall, and I ended up nearly drowning. So chibi falling could be used for malicious use. So is that a allowable exploit? I don't know. Now, fortunately, you can get out of these things by going to home, but that's getting an unfair advantage over another player by being able to do something to them that they might want you to do. Now, of course, the interesting thing is you can actually go out of bounds by accident. I've had that happen. I've had players I was taking around, had it happen to them. It's an accidental. It wasn't deliberate. Not something I would, hope to happen, but it can happen in weird ways. But technically, if there is some automated system, TGC could say, "Oh, they're doing something we don't approve of. That's bad." I don't know if they've ever done that. I don't know of any anecdotes related to that. But this is where the whole idea of using an exploit, hang on, can you see my fingers? Using an exploit is a grey area. So you've got exploits which may be kind of overlooked, or you've got exploits which may actually be a serious problem for somebody and give you an unfair advantage. I am just reminded, you may not know this, but there is actually I say something of, there is a speedrunning community for Sky. I might do a video about that at some point, actually, because that's actually kind of interesting. Who knows? Maybe I could get a speedrun record. No, that's actually such a laughable concept. But I was watching one of these videos, and I think the goal was to collect all light from a given realm in a shorter time as possible without hacking. But what did they do? They used an exploit. Oh. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? Don't know really what else I can comment on that. So yes, the consequences of hacking or user an exploit. Okay, hacking, fine, all right, but using an exploit, that is a hugely grey area. I suppose you'd have to ask the question, this exploit that I'm using, is it giving me an unfair advantage over other players? And if the answer is yes, then it's probably going to be frowned upon. Maybe, I don't know. See, now I'm getting myself confused because I'm diving into that grey area. One thing I should add in here, there are consequences of hacking which are not necessarily your fault. I mentioned that time a player used some kind of hack to get all the light from a realm in a very, very short space of time. And as I said, I blocked that player because I didn't want the association. And I just completely lost my train of thought. Give me a second while I have some coffee, get my brain in action, and maybe I'll get back to it. Right, here is, yeah, I've remembered where I was now. So, here's a scenario. You're going along, you're solo, you want to get through a door. Now, it is possible to get through a door. Sometimes you just run backwards and forwards and light the icons and the game glitches a bit and you get through the door. Oops, is that an exploit? Interesting. Or you could use a, what is it, a shared space or a shared memory. You may have seen the one. You click on it and this little camera icon goes. You click on the camera icon and that results in opening the door for you. That's actually an exploit. People were using it all the time. I think that is no longer possible. And the fact that it was removed means that that game company considered it an exploit that they didn't want to be in the game. Now, there's also a similar exploit where you could click on it and completely unknown, you would immediately get all the light in the region you're trying to get into. Well, that's an exploit. And you probably didn't know about it the first time you tried it. That's a hack. And people, I understand, have been banned for that. And I think they've been banned for using that, even though they may not have known what was about to happen. Be very, very cautious about methods of getting through doors which require you to use, and I'm sorry, yeah, I think that was a shared memory. And we rely on shared memories. If you're in the middle of the golden wasteland and you run out of wing flappies and you get a recharge, that seems to be perfectly okay, even though it's an exploit. That seems to be okay. But clicking on something and suddenly you've accidentally got all the light in a particular area, oh grief, no, that could get you banned. Potentially. I mean, yeah, you see what I mean? It's a very, very tricky, open-ended subject. One of the more famous exploits that seems to have been closed up now is the use of shared spaces at grandmas. We've probably all used them. You activate a shared space, you get someone else to click on you, so they now are in that shared space, and now all the because the features of that shared space include lights to burst grandma's food balls. I mean, that's so useful to do. Well, that's been taken away from us, but it was an exploit. To make no bones about it. It's using in-game features and the game allows for it and it seems perfectly reasonable. Technically, that could be regarded as an exploit. And if at the end of my little commentary section here you're feeling paranoid, hey, guess what? So do I. Here's another example of an exploit many of us have used. That is, you're with a friend and you piggyback them, right? You can use that feature to get into places that technically you shouldn't be able to get into. For example, Vault of Knowledge, second floor, right? There's that 4-player door. You can get through that using a piggyback exploit. Someone piggybacks on your back. They then get off your back. That launches them forward through the door. You keep moving forwards, and then you can warp to them. That's an exploit. It's a very useful exploit, especially if you can't find 4 people to open the door for you. It doesn't work in all places, but it certainly still works on the second floor of the Vault of Knowledge. Or first floor if you're British. Yeah, don't get me into the whole first floor, second floor thing that the Americans and the British have, because in the UK we start at the ground floor and then go to the first floor. In America they start at the first floor and then go to the second floor. I think I've got that right. I don't even go into what I've seen in oh grief, Hong Kong, where they didn't have a fourth floor or a 13th floor because the numbers are unlucky in Cantonese and English folklore, respectively. I have literally been in a hotel that didn't have a fourth floor or a 13th floor. Anyway. Okay, I don't know if that's helpful or not. If if you want me to try expanding on any of my thinking there, drop me a comment and I'll see what I can come up with.